Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen and this is my channel. I've broke out the Cherry Coke Zero today because it's just going to be one of those kinds of videos. Hashtag not sponsored, but would like to be. Just joking. I've also taken notes because it's also one of those kinds of videos. So as you can see by the title, this is my response, my thoughts, my opinions to Onision's video entitled A Message to Fat People. So this is my message to Onision from a fat person. I first want to say that I don't follow Onision. I'm not subscribed to his channel. I haven't watched one of his videos in literally years. It was probably 8 years ago or more when he was involved in the big YouTube drama, and at the time he didn't seem quite mentally stable. I don't know if that was an act or if he was just going through something and he's just changed his channel direction over the years. I really don't know what the story is. The way I came upon this video is a suggested video popped up in my feed about him and Shane Dawson. I watched a couple minutes of that. I really wasn't interested, but I was interested to see because I remembered his name and he has a really unique look, so I went to his channel because like I said, I remembered his look and his name. So I went to his channel to see what he had been up to over the past however many years that I hadn't watched him, and I was scrolling through some of the videos and I saw the word fat, and of course, being fat, I had to watch it. So I watched the video. I in fact watched it several times, and I'll tell you that I think the whole video is a bunch of garbage. I think there are a few points that he made in the video that are spot on, but I think he made the points not knowing that he was making the points. And so my message to Onision from a fat person, I will tell you exactly what I think of your video. Not that he's ever going to see this video, but I'm just going to tell you what I think about it. I've taken notes because it requires note-taking, and I need to tell you passages from the video that really kind of got to me. So I think, like I said, watching this video several times, I don't really know the purpose of this video. I felt the whole time like I was being trolled watching it. And I hate to use the word troll because that word is so overused on the internet. Because trolls are just people that are being mean and are using trolling as an excuse to be mean. So I don't know if he was just being, I don't know the reason for this video. I don't know if I just missed the sarcasm and it was just meant as a joke, but I'm taking it as something he meant that he truly believes. And I can tell you that the way I perceived it is that he is a person who is angry. He is a person who does not believe in God. Not to make this a religious video because religion has nothing to do with being fat, but his take on the reasons why people are fat, it all comes back to religion. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that whole thing because, in fact, I'm not a very religious person. I prefer to think of myself as more spiritual than religious. But it seems like he is a very angry person. To me, it seems like that he doesn't believe in God and that he is angry at God or a higher power. So let's get into what he said in the video and what I think. Alright, I'm going to leave a link in the description below to the video that I am referring to so you guys can all go and watch it in its entirety and form your own opinions. I'm going to read you a few passages of his quotes from his video so I can let you know how I came up with my opinions and why. So the first few, all of these really come down to, and I don't know if he even realized it or not, but this video has an undertone of religion in it, or the lack of religion and faith. I don't know what his religion or faith is, but from these passages, things that he has said, he is pretty much saying without saying that he doesn't believe in God or that he is angry at God, or I don't really know, but to me it came across as somebody who is a non-believer and is blaming all of their misfortunes in life on the fact that it was just dumb luck and that it's not our fault and we don't have to take responsibility for anything because it's just fate. He mentions fate and free will several times in the video, and I've never heard anybody refer to those in a non-religious aspect. Perhaps he's not, but I think that even if he doesn't realize it, that he is. It's coming from a place of non-believing. So I will read to you 3 passages, and then I will tell you what I think. The first one says, fat people. If you are not meant to be fat, the diets you have tried would have worked by now. I'm not saying you should stop trying. I'm just saying fate is real. In fact, there is this thing called pre-fate, which determines your fate. He also says, it's not your fault you're fat. If you knowingly and willingly choose to put stuff in your body, it's not your fault because you do not have free will. Free will implies that you had no outside influences and you made your decisions entirely based on uninfluenced, unmanipulated, untrained, basically everything state of being. He also says, we are all children trapped on a river raft headed towards a waterfall. That's our lives. That is what being human is all about. Our sadness, our happiness, our pain, and our anger. It's completely out of our reach to do anything about it. And if you think otherwise, you haven't thought enough about it. All right, first of all, I think he is completely off on what free will is. This could go into a deeper discussion of religion and spirituality, and I'm really not going to go there. But like I said, he uses free will and fate, and to me that is exactly what free will and fate is about spirituality and God. So free will, I believe we definitely have free will. I believe that we are put on this planet, on this plane, on this realm, whatever you want to refer to it as, for a purpose. When our souls are put here, we are meant to learn. There's a lesson that we're meant to learn. We are predetermined when we die. I think the time and the hour of our death is known. I think the time we have here is completely known. But I think it is from how we get from point A to point Z, from the beginning to the end, the time in between. It is completely up to us how we live our lives. I also believe that if we don't learn the lessons that we're sent here to achieve, that we will come back to learn them, and we will keep coming back until we learn those lessons. But that is a completely different subject, and that has nothing to do with being fat. So we'll just stick with this. So he believes that it is, no matter what diets we try, that because we're fat, it is just predetermined and it's our fate to be fat. But yet he says that he's not saying we should stop trying, which is a contradiction of itself right there. So if he thinks that we're just predetermined to be fat and that's our fate, then why would he tell us that he thinks that we shouldn't stop trying? I don't really understand that. As far as our happiness and our sadness is completely out of our hands, I do not believe in that whatsoever. It is our choice to be happy or to be sad or to be angry. Nobody's life is perfect, but we can make the best of any situation that we're in. It's not easy. It takes a lot of learning and it takes a lot of patience, and I am not saying that I know everything in life and I have all the answers, but I've learned a lot about this in the last few years and about my own self. I'm not saying anybody else, but I've learned a lot I've spent a lot of years being unhappy because of the way I am, and I've learned that it is up to me to either be miserable and stay stuck, or make myself happy and change my life so I am in a better place and I can feel happier. This reminds me of a podcast that I listened to recently. It was an Oprah podcast with a man named Anthony Ray Hinton. And Mr. Hinton spent over 30 years on death row for a crime he did not commit. He is a black man, and he lived in the South. This is back when segregation was still a thing and when racism was very bad in the South. He was arrested, and there were white police officers, and the white police officers let him know, plain and simple, that he was going to be convicted of the crime, whether he committed it or not, because he was going to be taking the fall for it. There was even evidence in his case that he did not commit the crimes that he was convicted of. But none of that mattered because of his skin color, and he was convicted and put on death row, and that's where he spent over 30 years of his life. But yet he maintained a happy existence. He did get down, he got depressed and sad, but he did not blame others, he become bitter. Now he's a motivational speaker, now that somebody finally listened to him, and his case got reopened, and he was exonerated for the crimes that he was convicted of that he did not commit. So just listening to him and how he was in the worst possible conditions and chose to live a life of happiness. There's also and I can't think of the title of the book, about a man who was in a Nazi concentration camp for many, many, many years, and he lived a horrific life of pain and torture, but he still chose to be happy and chose a positive outlook on life. So our lives are completely within our control, whether we choose to be happy or sad. Our circumstances might not be completely within our control, but the way we look at life is in our control. He also says, and then I'll get to the obesity thing and the fat thing. He says, this is where the fat thing comes in at. When you were a kid, more than likely you had parents who shoved junk food in your face. So you were conditioned to associate that with food with comfort. So now you not only crave the food, but you have an emotional connection to that food. And then he also says, but there is a point. But the point is, dear fat people, it is not your fault. So stop feeling like you're a waste of human life. Stop feeling so bad for yourself. Stop feeling like you're a failure. It's not your fault you were placed in the situation you were placed in. If you were born in the ghetto and everyone around you was a crook, what do you think the odds of you becoming a crook too? I think this is just a load of crap. This is saying that we should not take responsibility for our own actions and take responsibility for our own well-being and our own health. I completely agree with the fact that food can be a learned coping mechanism. For me, it was. I, for many years, and even still now, use food as a comfort. And yes, it was learned. I agree. And I also agree with the aspect of his example of if you grew up in a place where people around you were not so good people, that you might have the odds of you becoming a not so good person too is probably higher. But like I said, when you're a child, you don't have much control over that because you are just a product of the environment that you grow up in. I agree with that part. But when you become an adult, it is completely up to you whether you choose to stay in that place, to continue living that life, or you choose to make better for yourself or make different for yourself. Onision goes on to say, can you control who you love? Can you control what you like? Can you control most any feeling that you feel? And the answer is, in part, yes. I think the part about who you love, no, you cannot control who you love. Love is just love, and that is just something that comes naturally to us as humans. The part of feeling about controlling how you feel about things, yes. I have learned to use food and learned how to feel towards food, but I can unlearn that. I can learn different feelings towards it. It does not mean I have to use that for my entire life. Just because I learned that at an early age does not mean that I have to continue doing that. So Onision thinks that we are just fat because it's just fate, and that we should just accept that we are fat and just deal with it. But here's the thing. He's saying that we shouldn't take responsibility for the way we are. It is our choice whether we remain fat. Yes, we might have grown up in a circumstance that made us obese, but that does not mean as adults we have to stay that way. That goes to the same way of thinking that has really irritated me for a long time. I've heard a lot of people say it. People that were abused as children abuse as adults because that's the way they have learned to, that's what they learned because they were abused. I think that's a bunch of crap. I was abused as a child, and I would never in a million years harm a child because I know how that feels, and I would not want someone else to feel that way. So I think everybody needs to take responsibility for their own actions. You have to take responsibility for your obesity and being fat. It's not fate that you're fat. It's you learn what you learned makes you fat, and your circumstances and what you've done in life has made you fat. Diets haven't worked because you haven't tried and you've given up. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it all comes down to personal responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions. I could sit here and blame everything else and everyone else for my obesity and for my circumstances in life. But in the end, it's the choices that I made and the choices I continue making that keep me in the situation that I'm in, or determine how my life is going to change and how my life is going to go from here. I can choose to eat healthy, I can choose to replace bad habits with good ones and live a better life, or I can continue living the life that I have learned from childhood and just stay stuck and stay unhappy. It's up to me how I live my life, and it is completely within free will. Like I said, I don't know what Onision's intentions were for this video. I might have just missed the sarcasm, and maybe he wasn't serious about this video, but the way it came across to me is that this is what he believes. And I don't think that he realizes that the undertone of what is coming across in this video, and if the rest of his videos are like this, is coming from the point of him being a non-believer and believing that there is no greater power than himself and that we are just left here to fend for ourselves, which is not the case. It is our choice whether we make our lives happy or make our lives sad. We can be in bad situations and still choose to be happy. The choice is ours. So that is just a little bit of what I think. Your mileage may vary, and I'm sure it will. Talk to you all soon.